That's why that is there.
So then does that go across the board for anything, not just athletic events, but like grandparent lunches, book fair,
No.
or anything like that? If they're employed here, they can help here? Without doing a separate volunteer application?
We're gonna talk about that in 11K.
Okay.
I think I can answer that, but there might still be some.
Okay.
But this is specifically for event workers, being paid to be event workers, so we don't have that issue.
I would like to pull out 9E in that motion. I'll choose to abstain on that one. Yes, I'm on the list.
Well, you're a volunteer.
It doesn't matter.
Money
It doesn't matter.
can pull you.
Hey, I'd like to make a motion for a block vote, items 9.A through 9.G, excluding 9.E.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Did you note the correction? Is that already noted? The correction to 9D.
It's for club accounts.
Okay, all right.
I have one quick question, and it's nothing about voting or anything. But under like for the extracurricular and everything, we still like call out about COVID and everything. Like, do we still have to have that in there? Because the government's not
We
really.
had that conversation about taking that language out. I think that's the board decision on. It was not here. I mean, I think I understand why it was put there. If I'm correct, right, there was some clauses and some issues when there were no sports that spring. And payments were made, so I think it was a covering the district in case something like that happened from a financial standpoint, but. Am I correct on that, Mr. Harris? Okay.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was still needed or not, or if that could be removed.
Hey, can I just maybe suggest from here on out, maybe we don't include it
Okay.
Yeah,
That's,
rather than revising everything in the.
yeah,
officially was ended by the.
That actually answers one of Mrs. Ettinger's questions, so thank you, Mr. Harris.
Anything else? Or we? There's a motion,
June
and a
second.
second. Okay. Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
No,
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
No,
and Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
So we go back and make a motion to approve item 9.E, the non-essential volunteer athletic coaches. That's a motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
second.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? We have roll call on 9.E, please.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Abstain.
and Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Nothing else this evening under that section?
Okay. All right. Education and technology, Mr. Hosterman.
I'll take this one too. There's nothing listed
You
there.
have a choice either that or you, Mr. Hunt.
Nothing to report
That will grow.
Okay.
during the summertime.
right. All right. Thank you. Personnel Committee, Mr. Hunt.
All right, looks like. We just have a lot of approvals for subs, resignations. Drivers for buses. That's about sums it up. So I'd like to make a block vote for 11A. To 11N. Oh, sorry, 11O. I'm corrected.
I'll second that.
The motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Make a point of order.
There's no, okay, go ahead.
Should we be approving the bus driver list if we're not approving the contract for the bus carrier?
Well, we still have a current contract in place. And that contract is signed through the next 4 years. the item that was tabled was for revisions to the contract. So I feel comfortable with proposing it.
Okay, thank you.
And also those revisions are going to come to the board next month.
Yes,
And those revisions are things we believe are better for the district.
100%.
Great, thank you.
Um, I guess let me make a couple comments on some things here. So you will see 11G is Gina Birdsong. Gina has been our #1 monitor in the Wellness Center, and we talk about, she's been in there. When you look at some approval of classified subs, Matt Ettinger, Miley Neidig, Karen Schleif, they have been subbing. There are subs for that, so I just want to bring that point of attention to the board. So that's all based off of the Wellness Center being open. Said bus drivers. You will also see there's a list, by contract, I think we have to approve certain transfers. That's 11N and 11O. I will in my report also just share any internal. I think we discussed the importance of making sure those things are aware, but by board approval, 11N and 11O have to be brought to you. 11M is Sodom School. Yep, that says it there. Yes, any other questions we can answer on? Oh, 11K. Going back to Dr. Strasser, your question. So last year when we began the year, approval was given to me as long as everything, we created a checklist, all layers were there, we could approve because we might need a bus or van driver at any given moment. To your point, Dr. Strasser, what I would like to propose to the board, and again, totally up to the board, is that the same kind of idea, as long as the checklist is followed. If somebody wants to be a volunteer, somebody wants to be, we could actually, we can leave event workers there because we're talking beyond this, that they've churned everything in, right? They've made it clear they want to be that. I can give the conditional improvement. Their name would come back to you though for formal improvement. But this is saying, if we're in those moments, if we can hire a paraprofessional who wants to start in a week and we don't have a board meeting for 3 or 4 weeks and we have everything on file, that it's there conditionally. And they would all know. So that's one of those kind of fine line pieces of just trying to be more efficient with when we know we have everything, the checks and that are all balanced and we've got every document we need.
So maybe I misunderstood what was happening with event workers. I read it as, let's say I was a teacher in the district.
Yes.
I've already been approved to be a teacher in the district.
Correct.
Rod comes to me and says, hey, can you help me out tonight?
Yes,
I can say yes, because I'm already approved.
correct.
So if we have a teacher who wants to help out in something that's not athletic, do they still have to go back and do the volunteer application because it's technically not their role? But yet they still have turned everything in. Like last year, we had a substitute teacher that wanted to help with one of the PTSA things. And she was told she had to fill out the volunteer application, even though we've already approved her to be in here as a substitute teacher.
So you're asking, like,
So why are-
is it almost a conditional? If you're an employee, you can,
Yes.
in any event, the school.
You've already turned in all of your stuff. You should be able to help in a different magnitude.
I think our employees should be able to do all those things. They've got the
Right.
ability about, so I'd be comfortable bringing that as another motion next
Okay.
month, that our employees have the additional opportunities to be whatever.
Thank you.
I'll bring that.
So is that just athletic events?
That's what she was saying.
Yes.
It
So
says
right now, we're approving just event workers. What we could do is the volunteer piece beyond.
add it, make it a different
could do that.
motion for.
I'm just thinking about parents who are ticket takers at the spring musical. I don't think they have anything on file. Could be wrong, but I don't know. Maybe that has changed, but that was booster parents at one point who just stood up and said, I'll do that. Are we gonna require that level of documentation for that? I mean, I think it should be consistent across the board. Good for one, it should be good for the other. But.
Okay.
I think
We're
all-
done some language
events
on all
should-
that.
yeah.
We're going to continue to evolve. I know we talked a little bit about it, the volunteer policies anyway. We've done an initial look, our policy committee's meeting to follow our plan, and we're going to bring up language on what volunteers look like anyway. So let me continue to work on additional language for these things and we'll just keep hashing them out so we feel we're consistent on it.
Anything else? All right.
A lot of things.
Motion.
A to O.
I don't know that we had a motion on that one. Such a long time ago.
We have a motion in a second.
We did have a motion. You seconded? Okay, all right. We have roll call, please.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
No,
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
and Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd also like to welcome back Amanda Gessner, because I don't see she's in the audience tonight.
Thank you for being here. Yeah. Thank you.
Amanda will be our new social worker, middle school, high school at this time. I lied, high school, white deer at this time. Sorry, when I said that, I thought that's not right. Right now, high school and white deer. Excited to have her.
Yeah.
Are you a graduate from Milton or did you work here previously? Josh just said, welcome back. I didn't.
She did her internship here.
Oh, okay, great. Nice. Okay. I didn't think you were a Milton grad, so I was confused by that comment. Okay. Welcome.
So before we move on, I think it's always important when you look at 11A and B to recognize people. The first three individuals on 11A are those unsung heroes that sit in the background that not a lot of people see. If you don't know this, Joan Helwig is retiring with 25 years. She's 84. She started her second career in Milton when she was 59, 60, right? Am I doing the math right there? Like, that's incredible. I got to see her on the last day. She was sad she was leaving. Pam Huff, 32 years, unbelievable. Got to know her a little bit. Sharon, number 3 there is special thing to many of us because we are right there with her every day. To have her come in and turn in her resignation, and she will be leaving. She's going to be with us, begin the year, but incredible lady. I mean, when you look at that right there, the amount of service that those people gave, unsung heroes behind the scenes, incredible. 11B, looking at 2 and 4 there, Amber and Maddie were only with us a short time. Maddie is a Milton through and through, but just wants to be a mom, I think, for right now, and that's okay. Amber, I think, is moving back to wherever she was from, in a larger area, I think. And then when you look at, David, Matt, and Danielle, they gave many years and a lot of time and effort to what they were doing. Losing David's a major issue for her ag department. He built a great program and we're going to miss him tremendously. Mr. Ishman, I know, was a huge piece of the middle school and coaching and being around kids. And, I think he's a Milton kid through and through. So we're going to miss him. He's moving to be with his wife's family. And Danielle is just looking for a new opportunity as a speech person. And also I think some of her family time. So very grateful to all these years of service and all these people and what they did and what they offered this district. So huge thank you to them. Any other comments from anyone, please feel free, but it's always important to recognize when we have great people coming in, great people leaving us.
David is not listed on here.
He's over there.
Number 1.
Oh, I don't have their. Maybe it wasn't my folder.
We originally weren't going to list him, so he wouldn't leave.
Okay.
He is listed, yeah.
He is there.
Yeah.
There was another agenda he wasn't on.
Correct. Yes. Thought we had a great team in
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No. Yes.
I believe that is everything this evening on the personnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. All right, 12, Legislative and Policy Committee, Mr. Hosterman and Dr. Strasser.
You take this one. I'm
Okay.
done talking.
All right, so legislative and policy, we are looking for a block vote for 12A through 12C. 12B would be the final reading, which I think then we adopt them tonight, is that
Correct.
correct? And then 12C would be the initial reading of that one.
If you are a policy guru and you're looking and you look at 12C, that policy 251, that is something you're gonna be like, didn't we just approve that? We learned through our lawyers and through, I think some things came through some of this listservs we have, that there was some language that was initially recommended that is not recommended, and that is what that changes regarding our students and who has the option of their schooling. So it gives more, the policy change there is more about control for the district. So that's why we recommended that change. I just didn't want you to go, well, we just approved this a few months ago or a year ago. Why are we doing it again?
How are we defining on that policy educational instability? Sorry,
Say that again.
educational instability. I see it throughout the policy when I was reading it earlier and just wasn't sure what level is that covering?
Sure that our special ed director would.
You want to comment on that, or we can also wait? I mean, the first readings tonight, Mrs. Gerton will be with us in July. We can also,
Yeah, I mean,
between you, Dr.
Mrs.
Patrick.
Burton will do a much better job than I will, but I can give you a little, like, the interruptions that occur because of the homelessness or because of, their location and what they, as far as getting to school, like how often are they coming to school? Do they have a way to school? Like all of that stuff goes into their stability or instability in their education.
So it's more of a where are we located, not what can we afford kind of thing?
Yeah, there's like laws about what you have to provide.
Mhm.
It's more like, how do we provide that for our students? There's a whole process you go through when a kid becomes homeless to determine, are they homeless or are they just, saying they're homeless to get transportation here, but living somewhere else. So like, there's a whole process that you have to follow for those pieces. And then it's just, how do we get them here? Or
This just
not.
seemed very broad. So, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. Sorry. Um, the busing policy where we are trying to limit the amount of time kids are on a bus. This past year, with it being our first year with fifth grade being a White Deer, how long, like what was the longest any one child was on the bus every day?
I don't have that information.
Was it more than an hour?
Yes, yeah, I think we had, I don't have the exact number, I was speaking to Darren about the transportation. We had a handful, I want to say less than 10 that were on over an hour. With the majority of them being just a little bit over an hour, like less than an hour and 10 minutes, but in that slightly over hour range. And some of that is dependent on how many students were on the bus that day, traffic, things like that. But we did have a few that would be over an hour.
And in looking at moving forward with the reorganization, I know it's going to be hard to say at this point, but how many are we looking to be at that baseline hour, or we'll do our best not to?
Where we're looking at
over an
having
hour?
zero.
Yeah.
That's the goal. And Darren will be coming to present to the board prior to the realignment vote. And part of that presentation is specifically an outline on the routes and the timing provided by the routing software to hopefully show that we're able to keep it under an hour in all situations. Or at least the best that we can do prior to the realignment being made.
Then I would ask that we table this until we hear that information to see where we're actually at with
Gotcha.
being able to do this
Yep.
hour
Mhm.
point.
And I had this on my superintendent report things, but Derek is spot on. Ultimately, here's what I want you to have is on August 1st, complete understanding what the bus runs look like in that moment. What I believe, and I've talked to Mr. Tall about this, to Darren about this, I don't think there's any reason we can't provide to you once a month for the next year because of the importance of this. Bus 22, first kid got on at 6:43. It was empty by this time. Like, we can do that once a month, have our drivers do that. So we have a absolute, here's when the first kid got on, here's when the last kid got off. There's no reason we can't do that and have a list for you every month for the next, because it's that important. Mr. Tall actually popped my head in there today and I told him, he's like, great idea. Let's do that. Let's work on that. Clear that. No one can argue or no one can say, you're not showing the time. No, these are actual once a month drivers taking a a look at this and sharing it back. So we'll present then on August 1st. I believe those monthly reports are going to be very important to what it looks like. Mr. Tall is also going to put a presentation together prior to if we make any kind of vote on realignment, that it looks ahead to what it would look like if 4 and 5 were at White Deer, because yes, the times next year are important, but that will look a little different when you have 4 and 5 over at White Deer. So we're going to talk a lot about transportation in the next 6 months.
Then I think we should table this so that we don't have to redo it when the time comes.
Okay. It's up to the board.
I would agree.
Logical.
Is that a motion?
The presentations given at the middle, high school and the elementary level, that was very apparent that that was the main concern moving forward, even currently, with our students, it was, it confirmed everybody's thoughts. Listening to the parents at both of those presentations, that transportation was their number one issue.
And I would have a request for that presentation when it's done. If he can provide us like the average and median lengths today.
Sure.
Versus then, because we might, shorten the 10% longest trips, but then if we're tripling 50% of the trips, that would be good to know also.
It'd be good to have the bus company here.
Yeah.
To converse with them. Also,
Yeah, 'cause
I
there's-
know that you all are doing.
Like,
your
yeah,
part.
one thing that you run into as well is that there are some routes that we do to offer convenience for individuals, like going into developments to have stops where it's not technically required for us to do that, but we do it to benefit the students. So some of my concern is, if you pull that out to cut down the time, yes, we cut the time down to under an hour, but then are those families going to accept the fact that we no longer go into the developments? We now only pick up at the entrance of the development. So there's ways to cut time, but it's how much are we willing to cut to make students then walk farther to the bus stop and lose convenience? So those are the options that we have to weigh. We have not considered going that drastic yet where we're like cutting route distance down. But that is something the board could consider if not happy with the times as another way to look at. But I know we are looking at all options, even including like adding additional bus if we need to add additional bus. And the 4th, 5th of realignment, that's going to be completely new routing. So for next year, we're going to build off the routes we have. For the year after, what we're proposing, complete change in routing because it's going to be such a big shift from what we're doing now. So he should have 2 things to share with the board and present. So, but yeah, I will absolutely pass along about having Fishing Creek attend. And then also, I actually think he has that data already with the average median time. So that won't be an issue. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I might just add in full transparency, those of us that represent the West Chillisquaque Township received a letter from our supervisors, right?
Township.
Township supervisors, also with concerns about the amount of time kids will be on the bus. I don't think everybody got that. That was just.
It's just Lindsay, you and me. The
Dr. Bickert.
doctor, it was sent to Dr. Bickhart. We were copied. I wish they would have attended the presentations to listen to what some of the initial plans
Like
are.
they did, or one of them,
No.
did. No?
No, they did not.
We'll be reaching
I
out.
was there,
I will
so-
personally be reaching out to them to
Yeah.
invite them to their present for the
But I said,
presentations.
yeah, no, they should probably come to presentation that we have.
Okay, so then if we're gonna table, do we need to vote on tabling that?
Are you making a motion?
Yep, I'll make a motion, table.
I'll second it.
12B.2, correct?
12B2. It's a motion and a second to table 12B2. And then you want to approve the other items. We can do that
Yes.
together. We can block
Yep.
that.
Yep, we want to approve the other items, 12A, 12B1, and 12C.
Okay. It's a motion for that. Is there a second?
Second.
Could we have roll call, please?
Is the roll call just for the tabling
Both.
or both?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's a
Thank you.
block vote.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Hunt
Yes.
and Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
and Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, we'll eliminate the CSIU representative report this evening. Secretary's correspondence, Mr. Fink.
Yes, so I have no new donations, but it is good to see as we wrap up the 22-23 school year, how many donations we have had throughout the year, that we're up to 2 pages now. So I'm happy to share that. And then the grants, our district had our grant approved for the PCCD School Mental Health and Safety and Security Grant. So we have those funds coming our way. And that total amount is $259,988. So that's the grants and donations for the month. And I know we don't do the Panther Pride Award during the summer, but I just want to shout out our summer helpers and the painting job that they have done throughout the secondary complex, taking a lot of the green away and adding the black. I don't know if you guys have noticed it coming in, but I think it makes a big difference. And so I think they've been doing a great job. They've been hard at work. So I just wanted to share my appreciation for them. But other than that, that's everything I have for the month. Thank you.
I mean, it was all those signs that said wet paint.
Yes, those will be some of the areas they painted. Yeah.
It's great. Thank you. All right, is there a motion to accept donations and grants report?
So moved.
Second, okay, all in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, superintendent's report, Dr. Bickhart.
Okay, so I'll begin, I referenced, so by the contract, we have to go through the changes that were made that the board has to approve. It's also good to be transparent on other additional moves inside of buildings. So let me share those. So we have those documented. Mr. Fink, I will just give you my list.
Oh, thank
So
you.
you have it, make it a lot easier for you. Mr. Matt Wenrick is going from 6th grade learning support at the middle school to 8th grade learning support at the middle school. Mrs. Ashley Sheets is going from 8th grade learning support at the middle school to 6th grade learning support at the middle school. Mrs. Megan Denon Schmidt from Life Skills at White Deer Elementary to Life Skills / autistic support at White Deer. Again, these are more internal kind of things at a specific building. Classified staff transfers, Mrs. Stephanie Stump, special education, life skills at White Deer to special education, life skills, autistic support, emotional support at White Deer. So some role changes there still in that building. And then Andrea Wenzel from learning support at Bodker to emotional support at Bodker. So again, just conversations we had internally about being transparent, making sure it was documented for those internal moves as well. The other thing I think we need to mention is we referenced that there was an executive session held on May 23rd. We were talking personnel. The other piece of that we have to have for documentation is that we discussed the mandatory school safety report. Mrs. Gerton shared that report and we need that documented. So for the record on that was part of that after that meeting. Very excited. Big thank you, Dr. Kirkpatrick. We have our FID days approved. Why is that important to everybody? I recognize there are a lot of people who don't want to ever see a virtual day again, and I think most of us here agree. However, we also like the idea of school begins on a certain day and ends on a certain day. So now we have the ability to use our snow days as they are, cancellation days, whatever you want to call them, but we're approved for 5 official days. That's 3 years?
3 years.
3 years. It was not an easy process. I think it got sent back to you 2 or 3 times, a lot of work done. Appreciate that. Mrs. Ettinger was involved in that too. So very important that we have that flexibility for our families. Reference transportation already and some of the key things there. The last thing I'm going to share, and I will let Mr. Hunt speak. Mr. Hunt approached me. There has been some discussion. We've had some discussion here regarding CRSE, culturally relevant pieces of legislation. So there are districts acting upon this. It started in the West, making motions as a board. It is now moved into our region. Mr. Hunt brought it to me. I'm going to let the board discuss it with you. We can move on this however you see fit as a board. So I'll let you, Mr. Hunt, because it was your item to bring up to me.
All right, so I talked about this, I think it was 2 months ago. It did start out in the Pittsburgh area and it's slowly starting to come our way. There's a bunch of schools that are going against it right now. I'm not going to go over everything that I said 2 months ago, but basically as of right now, Shikellamy and Jersey Shore have passed a resolution to keep the government out of the school, with the CRSE. And I believe that we should also consider doing this because we were brought in here to do all the education, pass everything. We don't need the government telling us what we need to do. I'm going to either make a motion to have this added to the agenda tonight, vote to pass a resolution to keep this out, or a motion that we can have it added to the agenda next month and we can have a full discussion about it. And I'll let that up to the board to discuss. And then after that, I will let Anthony Beach will come up because he came into a meeting with Dr. Bickhart, me, and Dr. Kirkpatrick. I don't know how many months ago it was. And we talked about it during there as well. So he can go over a little more in depth with it as well. I'll open up to the board.
I don't think I'm prepared tonight to make a decision on this, but I would like more information on the entire topic.
The one thing I'm prepared, just because I wanted to be prepared tonight, if you would like, I can give to you, is there is sample language of the resolution that districts have used. I did make a copy of that if you would, did not want to say after this, up to you if you want to see it, I can share that. That's the resolution. What you're speaking of is diving deeper into the framework guidelines and the specifics of it.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable voting on specific either legislation or policies, but to make a blanket resolution, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that because then you're just making political statements versus actually voting on the merits of a particular topic.
I'd like to hear from the solicitor. What is happening in the state?
So there's districts in the western part of the state that challenged that in court. That's pending in Commonwealth Court. So you're not really seeing a rush. You have about 6 or 7 that already joined that. So, you know, nobody should really, I haven't seen anybody else line up on that. I have seen a number of resolutions to that effect. I had indicated to Dr. Bickhart, I really don't have an issue if a majority wants to go in that direction. I presented out in, might have been in April, in the western part of the state. And I had actually put in a document, not CRT, ? There was a representative from PDE there, Brian Gasper. I told him that it's embedded with critical race theory. And quite honestly, you guys ought to take it back and reconsider it. He indicated that PD was going to do that. I did share with Dr. Bickhart communication from a curriculum director at one of the IUs that they said they thought that was going to be on hold. So it's an individual board decision. You know, you can try to Google or go on what Dr. Bickhart and the other administrators get from PDE to see the number of schools that are joining. But you're not going to see any solicitors standing in the way of the board if they want to approve it.
Dr. Patrick, we had a little bit from the educational side.
Sure, just 2 things to add. The first thing is to let you know that this CR culturally relevant PD is not in our professional development plan for the 23-24 school year. So there's no indication of that as a topic for our teachers. And the second thing is that there are standards and 9 competencies that align with this suggested professional development that I'd be happy to share with you if you would like to see the specific standards around it. Okay.
To me, listening to this, it sounds like that's what we should do. We can let you look at what a resolution would look like. We can let you look, Dr. Patrick, send those out. We'll get those out to you tomorrow. You can educate yourselves on that. We can come back to the table on July 11th. Or whenever, I won't even say. Whenever.
Okay, July 11th. I was thinking this was July.
Don't
This
rush
is
the
leap
summer.
year. Yeah,
Don't rush the summer.
we already did that.
Does that need motion to put on the agenda or is that just good to go on then? I
think it's just FYI. It's just for our information that that's the way the path we'll take with this. Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Motion to accept the superintendent's report.
Moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Right. Are there any comments from visitors?
Just looking at the calendar for the next 2 months, the rest of the summer. Our August meetings are August 1st and August 8th. They're a week earlier.
Because of,
than normal.
yeah,
So
yeah,
just
having to
be aware
hire
of that.
if necessary. Yeah.
And I think it's good to point out, I think July 11th, August 1, August 8th allows us, if there's any major things before, because then August 14th, people return.
I think we found that out. We've had to move our meeting up last year or two to accommodate the need to hire. So works.
But we're not going to rush the summer.
No, not. Let's not do that. All right. We have comments from visitors.
I haven't received it.
And the research that I've done. If we think about the way the letters were wrote out, CR, just critical race theory and social emotional learning. What it, but DOE cannot put it out like that because it'd be obvious. So we rename it CRSE, culturally relevant and sustaining education. And that is what it's called. That's the framework that's been out. As Mr. Patrick said, it is 9 competencies. If you go through and you read that, 1A, the very first one in the very first competency, spells out CRT, social emotional learning. That is not something we needed in this school. That's teaching kids to hate each other because of their race. That is what critical race theory is. That's my part of it. Thank you.
Anything from any other board members this evening? Great. That
Wait, I have a question.
Sure.
So I saw that we lost another autistic support teacher. We've had some issues in that classroom this year. Do we need to provide more support? Do we need more for what's going on in those classrooms?
So there are more people approved, like in the budget, we don't have the actual people to put in there. Amber did not leave, if she's not here to speak for herself, but when she spoke to me about resigning, she did not leave because she was unhappy. She left because honestly, she's from a city and Milton was a little too small for her with not having any family or friends around. She was pretty miserable emotionally here. Had nothing to do with she sent a letter, I think she put it to you too, had nothing to do with the district, with the classroom. She loved the kids. So yes, more support would be beneficial. I don't have the bodies to put in there. I have actually just, Dr. Bickart and I met today. That was one of the big things that I talked about. Like somehow we need to get more paraprofessionals, not just autistic support is struggling. I have a couple other classrooms next year that I'm super concerned about. If we can't get some people who want to step up and be a paraprofessional for our district, it's not something we can do anything about. Like budgetary wise, it's in there. Derek had, we had put in there an extra one for those classrooms because of the concerns that we had with them. There's just really nobody applying for these positions at this point.
Are you finding that with other districts as well?
I mean, my understanding is everybody's struggling on the para side of it all. I just, ultimately outside of benefits, I mean, that's a significant piece. I think we do a great job of, compared to other districts of what we pay and what we're offering and sign-on bonuses and the opt-out for the benefits that exist.
We
So-
offer more than any other.
Yeah,
district.
I
Total compensation.
it's just a tough job.
Yeah.
Because we just added the opt-out for the insurance.
Yeah.
Their total dollar compensation beats every other district around us.
That's what I thought.
Is it possible to find out like how much we're budgeted for, how many, and then how much that cost would be if we offered benefits?
Yeah, I think we have 18 right now. And if
We've
you
done
wanted
that.
to say the average health insurance cost would be about $24,000 a year. So we'd be looking at $250,000 to $300,000. roughly, because we also add in vision, dental, everything else. So
Mhm.
it's a very significant budgetary increase.
We've went down that road a couple of times and looking to do that.
I don't know if that, I mean, that's a great question,
Yeah.
to like talk to other districts who are doing that, if that's even the answer.
Yeah.
I think
I
in
also
our
know in some
area, there's
districts-
only one, maybe two other districts in our area that offer benefits. For the most part, no one offers benefits.
Their starting salary rates, I believe, are lower than.
The ones that do, their starting salaries are very much lower, usually minimum wage or shortly above that, just because they offer the benefits.
Are the districts that offer the benefits fully staffed?
I can't answer that, to be honest with you. I can tell you that every district in our region has complained about not having paras, so my guess is no, but are they better staffed than we are? Possibly.
Anything else?
That'd be something, I mean, is that public information, Derek? Can we figure that out? Like if benefits offers a higher staffing percentage?
Yeah, I can, I just would
Oh,
simply
that's-
email them or call their business administrator and just say like, hey, how are you staffed right now for your,
I'm just curious, you know,
Yeah.
if benefits would draw in
I have no
more
problem
percent
asking.
or something.
If we can't keep the teacher and we don't have enough paraprofessionals, there could be worse things happening to take our money. Besides paying benefits.
So we have how many budgeted?
18
I believe.
this
How
year.
many are filled at the moment?
I think I have 4 open positions at this point.
So you have 14 filled of 18.
Don't quote me because I don't have the paper.
No,
in
I-
front of me, but yes,
I
yes.
think that's accurate.
Do they,
Do I think we could use more than 18? I actually do. Like, Dr. Bickart and I have had this discussion, like Catherine and I talked the other day, at one point when I taught here, we had 38 paraprofessionals. So when I was a teacher, we had lots, and every year what was happening is we didn't get people applying to fill those positions. The positions get cut, the positions get cut, the positions get cut. I can't say, you know, the need for these people is huge. The benefit they give to our students and our teachers is huge. I just, you know, I don't know the answer. I would love to have, you know, 24 of them and spread them out a little bit more.
And let me comment on that, because I think as we've looked at a staffing report going forward, we have made it very clear that from a teacher standpoint, from the teaching staff, we want to look at our enrollment and what we're doing. In that process, as part of the discussion was paraprofessionals, and our discussion was an increase in them. Our decrease isn't about decreasing special education teachers. That is not part of our discussion. So, but when we make significant decreases in other areas that open some budgetary things, you can balance there. I don't quote me on this, but I believe in some of the staffing pieces we looked at, we talked about going up to 20-21 paras to add 3 or 4, just because we're assuming the need is only going to get greater for the students coming in. But then it goes back to, can we actually hire people?
So you can put 30 openings on.
Yeah, that's it. I think
14.
Derek has actually said that.
And the district can only afford to hire
Right.
so many, so.
Right. We're gonna keep being creative though, and looking at how we can get it out there and get different interest in that position, especially.
Definitely a problem, but it's definitely something that we discuss weekly, if not daily, you know, like how can we do this? You know, John and I talked today about putting another social media blast out for Norm to just put out there, like, we're still in need of these people. Autistic support teachers, they don't come around very often, you know, so putting that out there, like, we need that too. So I think that'll be coming in the short term to attempt to help us out, but.
And we've got a handful, that role, we just referenced Mr. Bittner, the ag teacher role, that's a huge piece of our puzzle at high school. So we're gonna start some hiring campaign pieces to get out there a little bit more and hopefully. Listen, we accomplished the 2 school psychologists from last year, so we can do this. We can do this.
That's not a shared service offered by the IU or any private third party.
They're struggling as
struggling
much
too.
as we are. You know, social workers, I'll be honest, you know, I'm super excited that Amanda's joining us because I have the IU calling me saying, how are you getting these people? And I'm like, stay away, like back off my people. Like there's just a huge shortage in special education world of people altogether, speech therapists, you know, 2 open positions at this point.
Interesting enough, the state just launched Governor Shapiro launched a whole big thing where they're going to start working with paras into giving them the opportunity. Now, we're doing things like that anyway with tuition reimbursement, but it's a statewide effort to get more people interested in special education, becoming special education teachers. So yeah, again, right there is a clear example. It's not just us.
No, the county is also looking for therapists, so I know from our end that we're looking as well. But I feel like if we're gonna offer this specialized classroom, then we need to be able
I
to
agree.
give the support in that classroom. So if it's something we have to look at as a board, then
And we're going to go hard the next few weeks to try and get hopefully somebody for July 11th, hopefully some pairs, but August 1st as well, but a priority for sure.
This is very powerful. We just need to get both the questions today. I want the autistic support speech and language therapist, special education position. We've had good results for the social in the past, especially with the executive assistant positions with getting qualified applicants. So the 30-day campaign is starting today.
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, okay with that, motion to go into executive for legal.
Looking for a motion or second?
Yes,
moved.
A motion,
Second.
have a second. All right. We'll have no further business when we return. Thank you all.